Hi, I'm Vicki Dela Amedume and I'm Artistic Director of Upswing. And Upswing is a company that I founded in 2006 towards the end of my performing career. I was reaching a point as a creative where I started to feel the need to be able to have a space to make my own work that was led by my creative impulses. I was finding myself working more and more in majority white companies. I'm feeling like I was either there because I was black or in spite of being black. I never was in a space where I felt completely comfortable to fully articulate who I was as a creative. Upswing wasn't started with the desire to form a company. It was started with the desire to have a safe space to make the work that I wanted to make. The starting point for most of the work that we make tends to be political in some way. And when I say political, I'm not talking about kind of big P politics, you know, what's happening in Parliament. I'm talking about the ways in which humans interact with each other, which is always political. Bodies for me are hugely political. Sometimes those politics are incredibly personal. For example, Bedtime Stories was made at a time where I was really curious about how parents and children relate to each other, the power dynamics between parents and children. What Happens in the Winter was about growing older. It was taken from the perspective of women, older women who have lived their life in public view, have been performers their whole lives. I tend to take quite a slow process in making work, but quite often I'll start with a question or a curiosity, and I'll need to find other people who I can have a conversation about that. So through those conversations, I will start to understand why I'm curious about a particular thing through talking to people who can illuminate that idea for me. And then I'll start to think about how I can begin to articulate what I'm discovering with movement to a wider audience. Upswing made its first shows for the outdoors. There was something around the spaces that we chose to work in, those public open spaces that meant it would often be reaching audiences that made sense to me. So I didn't come from a theatre background and I didn't come from a theatre-going family. Theatres always felt like they were a little bit at a distance from my experience. So when I started creating my own artworks, I wanted to place them in the kind of places where I would choose to go to experience art. This summer we spent a lot of time in libraries, and people wouldn't necessarily put circus and libraries together, but it's been extraordinary, and we make performance work for a variety of different contexts. Sector development is something that we do by necessity. Finding ways to increase opportunities for training and development and employment for global majority artists is essential for us to make sure that we have the artists that we want to work with in our productions. When you ask people what is circus, one of the things that I love about this art form is that almost everyone has an answer. It's an art form that everyone feels that they can understand and have ownership of. I think the challenge for a company like Upswing is that we don't always fit into those immediate expectations of what circus is. You know, we are led by global majority artists. We try and make work that speaks to broader ideas, and people tend to put circus into solely the spectacle box. There's something about the idea of community and shared experience and joyfulness of circus that I want to hold on to in everything that we do, even when we're talking about difficult things in our work or we are looking at challenging dynamics between human beings. I want people to feel like it's an experience they want to come to, they want to engage with, and that they will gain some pleasure and some joy from going through that experience. When I think about the future of circus, I think it is bright, especially if the community embraces the opportunity of diversity. And I think that's hugely exciting. You know, every art form needs to relate to its time, and in order to relate to its time, it needs to refresh the voices that are coming through. So you're meeting me at the end of a day of workshop development for a new idea where we wanted to bring together circus and stand-up comedy as a way to have a dialogue about where we are right now with our conversations about race, culture and identity. Everything's just aligned, you know, and it's been really exciting to see the potential of movement and text come together in a way that feels enlivening, energizing, funny, but really, really, really powerful.